I've been to a lot of countries, and I've also lived in a lot of countries, and it's very interesting as you go about and as you move countries and as you get to know different people and as you get to know different cultures, that some things really, really change in every culture, and some things are really, really different, but some things are really, really similar. One thing that's really, really similar is what professions are seen as highly regarded. So, for example, in nearly every country in the world, doctors are really well regarded. Not only in terms of like prestige, but also in terms of how much money they make. Lawyers are normally high regarded. Engineers are normally high regarded. Obviously, there's going to be one or two differences between countries, but by and large, these are things that remain the same. And I wanted to talk about something else also that I noticed that doesn't really change as much. That is something that's really fixed, that pretty much in every country you go, those are going to be the tools that you can use to succeed. And I identified three, and I think all of them are really, really relevant in the modern world, but hopefully you can have at least one. If you have two, you're great. And if you have three, you're just unstoppable. So the first thing that really powers you, that really gives you leverage, are your skills. And so, like I said, the previous examples, if you're a doctor, if you're a lawyer, if you're an engineer, having a technical skill is really, really valuable. And we think of technical skills as like being an electrician or knowing how to resuscitate someone or knowing how to do surgery. But technical skills are much more than that. Like anything that you know that can't be easily inferred and that has to be acquired through deep practice and experience is a practical skill. Even if it is not quote unquote practical. Another example obviously is like you could just code in your computer, and that's obviously a practical skill. It's very useful, but it's not like something you're doing with your muscles, let's say. On the business and entrepreneurial side, that's the same thing. People management and marketing, those things are much more subjective. Like you can't really have a list of things that equal being a good marketer. It's not that concrete, but it's definitely a skill. And the more skills you have, as you combine them, you become a very unique person. And as you become unique, that is, as you specialize, you become disproportionately valuable to a certain part of the population. So if you're just you, and you don't have any skills, or you have a really generic skill, like for example, you're able to, clean the toilet. Most people are able to clean the toilet, and so you're valuable to nearly everyone, but you're not very valuable to anyone because they could just clean their toilets themselves, or they could hire someone else to clean the toilets because it's not really a high-level skill. Bartending, being a waiter, being a barista, think of those sort of things. As soon as you start specializing, what happens is, to some people, you're absolutely useless. So let's say you start learning, even if you become a doctor, like if I'm healthy, I don't need a doctor. Like you can just knock on my door and you're like, but you really could use like a cardiogram or something. I'm gonna be like, not really, like I'm pretty healthy, And so as you specialize, you become more useful to a particular set of the population that, for example, in the case of doctors, is suffering from disease or suffering from legal issues or suffering from whatever. As you get that skill set and you combine it with a second skill set, you get disproportionately valued by a disproportionately small amount of people, but that is so worth it. So, for example, if you remain as a good doctor and you keep developing yourself, but you also learn marketing, then, for example, you would be very, very valuable to certain healthcare companies. For example, that might be, or let's change marketing to like business or management. If you know management and medicine, you might be literally one of a kind for certain healthcare companies, And so the story of a human as a human develops is to go from generic, everyone kind of needs me skills, to very specific, certain people really, really need these skills. And you definitely want to be on this side. And so this is how you develop one of the three components of how you're useful, how you're competent. The second thing is capital. And when I say capital, most people think of money. So they think, oh yeah, sure, if you have $1 million in the bank, you're well off. But let's break that down and let's ask first, why are you well off? Like, why does having $1 million in the bank make you well off? Because $1 million in the bank is just a accumulated set of debt that you have, that other people have with you, and that they were willing in the past to pay you for. And so you have a credit score, you have a good credit, and you can use that to buy people's time today, which is really useful. And capital that's the second thing. Capital isn't just money in the bank, because capital is structure. It is a structure that is put in place and that serves you in a way. So obviously, if the money is in the bank, you're earning some interest on it. But if you take it away and you put it in stocks, you're earning a little more interest on it, or you could, at least if the stock goes well. If you take it away and you invest it into, or you lend it to a business, then that capital is being transformed into machinery and employees and structure and growing the business somehow. And you're partially owning that structure through your capital. And then last but not least, if you actually open a business yourself, then obviously you have a structure that helps you. When I had a business, when I had a marketing agency, it got to a point where, by the way, I've never been rich. I've never been I'm not rich, and I've never made a lot of money. But I got to a point where, because I had set up structures around me where people knew that they could count on me for certain things, or people knew that they could refer me, or I had a reputable, I was reputable in my niche. People would just literally come to me. And that's also a sort of capital. It's a sort of system where you're not really being more skilled. Like, it wasn't because I was better at sales. It wasn't because I was better at marketing. It was just because I had a particular positioning that came from the structure that I had set up, and that I had fought a lot to set up. So that is the second thing. And the third thing, which goes in line with what I just said, and it's becoming more and more relevant nowadays, is fame. Now, it's hard to separate fame from wealth, because you could say, oh no, famous people are just well off because they're wealthy. Like, they're just as well off in the proportion that they're wealthy. But I would disagree. Like, if you're a billionaire, you can get anywhere because you pay for it. If you're famous, you can get anywhere because you don't need to pay, because people want you there. And unfortunately, nowadays with technology, more and more people have been turning into zombies, pretty much, and they've been very easily influenced by social media, and that is easy to see pretty much anywhere. But the thing I want to take out of it here is that if you're on the other side, if you pledge yourself to be one of the people who influence instead of one of the people who follow someone else's influence, you're going to be in a position where you have a lot of leverage, and businesses and other people, they're going to want you because you attract that attention. And more than that, people who like you, people who follow you on social media, for example, they're going to be willing to do certain things for you, they're going to be willing to do certain things for you that they wouldn't be willing to do for someone who, just because they had money. And that's where you start to be, that's where you get into the field of idolatry, where it's like, oh, no, idolatry, that's a really strong word, that's a religious word. But the truth is that if you're willing to stand in line for an hour to get someone's autograph, that isn't really worth anything, or even if it is, you're not going to sell and you're going to keep it. You see how that is a weird relationship? You wouldn't even do that with your mom, and you wouldn't do that with a random billionaire if you didn't care about him, and you wouldn't do that with the best doctor in town. But for some reason, you do that with someone that's famous. And the reason for that is actually related to religion, which is that humans, they're created for idolatry. They're created to have idols, to have inspiration. And to a certain point, if you're not treating people as though they were godlike, that's fine. Like, some people influenced you. Maybe some people said some very smart things and actually changed your behavior and helped your life. I have people that I would probably want an autograph from as well. But that's not the point. The point is that fame in and of itself, even if you take everything from someone who's famous, because, for example, let's say someone has a lot of money, so they're billionaires, and they inherited that money, so they don't really have a skill. If you take that money away from them, they don't really have anything. They had capital, and now they don't, and it's going to be pretty hard for them to rebuild what they had. If you take Leonardo DiCaprio's money, like every single penny today, he could very easily go be a motivational speaker or open an acting course or just go into another movie and make millions and millions again, because he's set up in a way where all that just comes to him naturally. And yeah, if you're trying to figure out what to do, I would definitely advise you to focus on these 3 points of leverage. When you're early on in your career, definitely focus on the first one. Be useful, be skilled, be someone that people have a reason to want to listen to. And then obviously, as you build that, if you're also building fame and if you're also building wealth, all in all, it could really be that in 10 years or in 20 years, you'll be unstoppable. And that's what I want for you. That's what I want for everyone. That's definitely what I want for me. So yeah, if you like this video, make sure to like, subscribe. This is just a little bit of a different video because I normally talk about travel and countries and a little bit about money and wealth as well. But I really do hope that you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys around.